It's going down. Shalom. First and foremost, giving all praises, honor, glory, respect, and blessings to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakha Kodash. Salutations to the Lord's elect on the four corners of the earth, pushing this truth and sincerity while patiently waiting for Yahweh Shai's return. And double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone, which have taught us everything we know through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai. And welcome to another series of It's Going Down, being brought to you by the spirit and power of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai. U.S. inflation heating up, Bloomberg. Consumer prices projected to be higher next year. So you heard it from their mouth. Consumer prices projected to be higher next year. And let me tell you something about America. America is the number one consumer planet. No, slip of the tongue, not with the heart. America is the number one consumer country on this entire planet. Okay, America receives most of its resources, such as commodities, grains, fruits, vegetables, metals, REMs, oil, gas. It receives a vast majority of it from these different countries. Shoes, clothes, jewelry, you name it. All you got to do is look on the tag of your clothes and see where it was made from. 9 times out of 10, it'll say that it was made from China. They'll say that it was made from India. They'll say it was made from Scotland, made from Germany. So it says, the forecast for the personal consumption expenditures price index used by the Federal Reserve as a major inflation metric has been raised for each quarter of the upcoming year, Bloomberg reported on Tuesday. According to the figures based on the median forecast of 65 economists in the Bloomberg survey carried out during the week through November 11th, sluggish economic activity hiked interest rates will send the PCE price index averaging at 2.8% by the final 3 months of 2023. The final 3 months. Well, we ought to say the Lord's will, because this country might not make it to a final 3 months of 2023. Okay, I don't even see this country reaching 2024, to be honest. Forecasters also upgraded quarterly expectations for the core PCE price measure that exclude food and energy costs and the consumer price index. You see that? So America is starting to go through an energy cost as well, which is increasing. And of course, food prices are still continuing to increase here in the United States. They still expect price pressures to cool sharply over the course of the year. Meanwhile, the chances of a recession during 2023 continue to increase, rising to 65% from 60% last month. The analysts now expect the Fed to begin cutting rates in the final 3 months of next year. Final 3 months. As you see, nearly half of polled economists talked to the agency prior to November 10, when the Consumer Price Index was released, showing that U.S. inflation rose at a slower than expected pace in October. Bolstered by a robust labor market and higher wages, consumer spending was largely held up in the face of the quickest price growth in a generation. At the same time, most economists expect high inflation and regulators' tough policy response to tip the economy into recession next year. Let's read that again. At the same time, most economists expect high inflation, where? Here in the United States of America. At the same time, most economists expect high inflation and the regulators' tough policy response to tip the economy into recession next year, which we're already in a recession. I don't know why they keep saying we're heading into one. No, we're in a recession. Unemployment rate continues to rise, which that's how a recession usually starts in a country. It starts with the unemployment rate going past a certain threshold. Okay, and the GDP here in America is not looking too good, which the GDP is what? The gross domestic production, which you normally get from the overall profit that the government makes from these different corporations, which they have set up to make money and to give a portion of that money to the government. So the GDP, once the GDP starts to drop, which the GDP been dropping here in the United States, then that's when you're in a recession. And ultimately, a recession is a slowdown in economic activity, and it usually starts when the economy consumes more than what it produces. And this country has always been a country that consumes more than what it produces. So it's not that we're heading into a recession. We've been in a recession. It's just that the recession is going to get worse. That's all. And as it gets worse, more people is going to be laid off. They're already talking about laying millions of people off next year in order to fix the inflation. Which you're not going to fix the inflation laying people off. Because then people is going to apply for unemployment. You know, they're going to apply for a lot of things. So it says the central bank, which I'm pretty sure that's what the so-called elites want. Because the only way you're going to get unemployment through them, ultimately, is going to be through that CHIP, the CHIP. So the central bank is expected to raise the key interest rate by 50 basis points at the December meeting. The dismal projections for the U.S. economy in the first 6 months of 2023 were also trimmed. GDP is forecast to flatline in both quarters amid softer consumer spending before resuming tepid growth in the back end of the year. And we ought to say the Lord's will, we're going to do this and that, because it may not be in the Lord's plan for this country to make it to the end of the year. You know? But again, that's the pride of these devils. They're talking about by the end of next year. They really think their kingdom is going to continue on forever. Nah, your kingdom is not going to continue on forever. So U.S. inflation is heating up. And once again, Habakkuk 2 and 6. Shall not all these take up a parable against them? Who are all these? The people, the civilians, the people of whom you're taking their hard-earned taxes out of, and using their hard-earned taxes to spend their money on BS. Especially our people. You know, you take a lot of taxes out of our checks, and it goes towards bullshit like anthrax, like funding anthrax laboratories in Ukraine. You know, supporting Ukraine with weapons and all manner of BS. It says, shall not all these take up a parable against them, and a taunting proverb against them, and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his? Okay. It says, how long? And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay. And that thick clay is a representation of debt. And as a matter of fact, when you look up that word clay in the Blue Letter Bible, it literally goes back to the Hebrew word ibadyat, which means debt. So this country is going to continue to laden itself with thick clay until hyperinflation is there, and then the dollar collapses, because ultimately that's what the so-called elites want. They want to collapse the dollar so they can have an excuse to move digital currencies to the CHIP. They want to do away with physical cash and coins. You know, I remember when I was working at the casino 2.5 years ago, I remember they kept talking about a shortage of quarters. So, yeah, with that I'm going to say Shalom is on to the next one.